Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Besties in the Books podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley.
And we are here to fill your ears with good stuff today.
Some good things. Throne of Glass related. We are going to be ranking Throne of Glass, but we're going to keep it spoiler free for the first 15 minutes, per usual. So don't worry if you haven't read it yet, or if you're in the midst of reading, we will tell you when it is your cue to exit. Okay? Come back later, save it to your playlist to watch as soon as you're done to see if you would rank the books the same, because there are 8 books in the Throne of Glass series.
Yeah, so buckle up. It's happening.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's going to be a whole time. It is hard. It was hard for me to rank these, kind of. I mean, we'll get into that later, but some of them were really easy. Some of them were really hard.
Yeah. You got to really think.
We'll put it that way.
You got to get in the think tank. Think about it. Before we jump into our faves and fails of the week, I'm just here to remind you to go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to watch this playback. Even if you don't, just subscribe to us. Helps us out. And that's at Besties in the Books podcast. Also, you can listen to us anywhere you like to get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, all the places. Just you name it.
All the places.
Throw it at a wall. We're there. We're ready to talk to you about books. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Besties in the Books podcast, where we do fun polls and some extended content, and it's super fun to get to know you guys too and chat. And you can interact with us a little bit more there, because we want your feedback on these episodes. We want to hear what you guys have to say about the things that we're saying. It's a two-way street, man.
Most of the fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So during this spoiler-free portion, we like to start off with a little bit of faves and fails. So it was Ashley's idea to talk about our best and worst date.
Yeah. We got some good ones.
So we'll just kick it off with that before we get into the nitty and gritty of Throne of Glass. So why don't you tell me yours first? I'm curious. Since this was your idea, I want to hear.
Fair enough. I always like to start with my fail because I like to end on a positive note. So my fail of a date was actually someone that I had dated a few times, like went on dates with. We weren't like exclusive or anything, but we were like, dating. And I want to say it was like our 3rd or 4th date. And it was the date that was like, I've had enough of this. He was kind of far from me too. It was like an hour or 2 drive away. And I had always went there. And this was the one time that he was coming to me. And he would not ever pay for anything, not split. I paid for
just
everything.
Nothing. Okay.
And I was like, I didn't make anything. And he had a good job. I'm not expecting him to pay for everything. I just want to make it clear. Like, whatever works for you guys. But
just like
he
even
wouldn't,
splitting
he wouldn't offer. He wouldn't offer. He had no dating. It felt like no dating experience. I don't even know. We never even got like that deep. He was very... It was the worst date because I was just like, oh, this guy's just a big old dully dud. He's not shy. He just has nothing to contribute to the conversation, to the table. And I had enough. So I remember specifically it was like some kind of taco restaurant or something, like a quick to-go place. And he just orders after me and then just stands there.
Oh,
and I just paid.
How awkward.
And that was like the 3rd or 4th time that I was like, okay, And it wasn't even, that's the thing about the date that stuck out in my mind. I don't even think he was doing it on purpose. I just think he had no idea how to date people.
It was supposed to be kind of.
I don't know. It was just super, super weird. So
was he the same age as you, or was he
maybe like
older,
a year
younger?
older? I'll tell you who it is later because you know them.
I kind of feel like I know who it is. Maybe. Yeah.
So, and if I get too specific, then things will. I don't know who would know, but
things
I don't know. You just never
quickly.
know. So I don't want to go more specific. Other things that went awry on the date that I was like, this is just getting worse and worse and worse. So it's just a sign. Yeah. And they were blindsided when I was like, this isn't working. What? It's like, but I felt nothing from you. Like nothing. It's just a wall. It was like hanging out with a brick wall. Yep.
Fun.
So that was like my fail of a date. My favorite date, I'm going to get really
Wait, are you going to talk about a date with your husband?
Yeah.
So am I. Okay,
Well,
we're lame.
hello,
So just we're putting that out there.
It better be our favorite date.
I know.
To like marry them, right?
Yes. Cute.
I mean,
yes.
So my
It's true.
favorite date was actually my first date with my husband. I'm sure we had a lot of fun dates at that, but they all blur together, you know, because it's been 13 years since our first date. So it was the first date to end all first dates, you know? It was just so natural, and we had so much fun together, and I couldn't tell you what was going on, like who was it, because we were just nonstop laughing, talking, agreeing on the same like life goals and stuff, not in like a weird like cringy way, just like in a, oh my gosh, you too? Well, what do you feel about this? Me too. Oh my gosh, me too. And just we had fun, and we just kept hopping to different places and just kept extending our date longer and longer, and it was fun. Yeah, it was cute. There you go.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
There we go. Your turn.
Okay.
Okay.
Listen. Okay, so the worst date, this one like stands out in my mind. And honestly, there may be other ones that are worse, but for some reason this one is like the one that just really stands out.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a while I tried online dating. Okay? And this was like what? Like, yeah, like you're saying, because me and Kanan, let's see, have been together 10-ish, a little over 10 years.
Yeah.
So this was probably like 11 or 12 years ago, something like that.
Like, it's still not apps yet, right?
It was, I remember being on OkCupid and being on Plenty of Fish, maybe.
Yeah.
So there was definitely dating websites, but like there wasn't like it wasn't on any of the ones that are popular now, like whatever. Yeah. So I think that I met this guy on like probably Plenty of Fish or something like that. And I had this rule when I was online dating that I would only agree to a drink or an appetizer. I would never agree to dinner. And it was always early so that I could go. This is when I used to drink, so that I could go drink by myself after.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want to be like, oh, I have to meet girlfriends. Bye. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to stick around if they are terrible.
Yeah.
So we just went to like a local brewery for like an appetizer or whatever. And literally, I was there for maybe an hour. It was like an appetizer and like a beer. First of all, this guy has to be at least, I'd argue to say, at least 10 to 15 years older than like his photo.
Yeah.
Which, okay, whatever. But like looked like a very different person.
Yeah.
Which is relevant, not because I like have any particularities with age, but because of the fact that he goes on to tell me that he lives in a trailer on his parents' property. Okay. Where I'm like, oh, okay. Are you like going to school? Like he should be like long graduated by now. You know what I mean? Like he should be like maybe in a career, like whatever. Like you're not 25. You're actually like at least 40-ish, you know, at this point.
I think I need to interject here because this is also not the economy of right now. This is like economy of 12 years ago where it wasn't like $4,000 to rent a studio, you know?
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but like, I would have been like in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And this guy would have been 40.
Yeah.
So
not 10 years older than you, 10 years older than the picture that he showed you know?
And I don't have any issues with like older guys or whatever, but it's like I'm 25 and I have my own apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like working at the mall and like
have
at
your
a spa
career,
part-time.
like you're on your way to your career.
Like,
you're already graduated at that point. Yeah.
So it was kind of like a little bit alarming. Okay, but this is the thing. I'm like, okay, you live in a trailer on your parents' property. All right, whatever. I've heard worse. Okay. Yeah. Then he goes on to tell me that it's because he's an inventor. And he's just been having a hard time because he just hangs out in his trailer on his parents' property inventing things. And then he goes off onto, but he doesn't tell me specifically what. Then he goes off onto this like crazy
He doesn't want you to steal the
about,
inventions.
I know the idea.
Yeah, I can't give you that kind of information.
He goes off on this crazy tangent about how basically like the neighborhood kids will like come and throw like trash and cans at his trailer.
Oh no. Jeez.
And I'm just sitting there like sipping my beer like, what did I get myself into?
No.
This is the worst. So it was like, needless to say, really, really awkward. I got up and went to the bathroom. It was the only date I had ever been on where I considered literally just leaving, like sneaking out and like just leaving. And yeah, so basically I just told him, I was like, all right, I'm going to go. I don't think we have anything in common. Whatever. I'm like, we'll just check out and be gone, done. Our bill, I'll never forget, our bill was $17.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, so we'll just split it then. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I got it.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, like I can handle it. So then he walks me like outside to like my car or whatever. And I'm like, all right, bye. Like, have a good day. Just kind of like trying to remain neutral, but like exit. And he got crazy, irrationally angry at me and started basically like yelling at me, telling me that I should just admit that I think I'm way better than him, and just like went off on me. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I didn't want to date you before, I definitely don't want to now.
Yeah.
And this is after knowing him for like maybe an hour.
That's scary.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so crazy. But yeah, so that was probably my worst date. I think that sticks out in my mind that I've been on, where I was like, what a roller coaster.
Yeah.
This has been in just an hour of my life.
Yeah.
So that was weird. But yeah, for my best date, I was literally going to say the same thing as you. I'm sure that my husband and I have been on a lot of good dates since then. But I mean, our first date, we like immediately clicked, and we ended up kind of like doing like a kind of little bar hopping thing. Okay, here's the unique thing though about me and my husband's first date dating situation. So we met because he lived next door to me. And so the awkwardest thing ever, guys, is leaving wherever you are. Like, let's say you're like at a restaurant and you're having a date with this new guy, and then having to drive home and park in parking spots that are directly next to each other, and then go into doors that are literally 2 feet apart from each other.
Well,
see
you later.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that is the most awkward thing ever. So yeah, best date ever. We just ended up like, yeah, kind of bar hopping and hanging out, and just clicked immediately. My husband always says like, oh, we went on a first date, then you just never left. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so best date for sure.
Yeah.
And worst date.
That's cute. I know you think it's awkward enough to like leave a date at the bar, like, oh, I don't know if we should kiss or not, whatever. But like to have to be like, okay, bye, and then just both go home. Oh, hey, see you later.
Yeah.
Just get my mail.
Remember we were having that first date. It was, I want to say the day after, or maybe 2 days after I used to throw an annual big Halloween party with one of my friends every single year. And I remember Kaden was like outside, my husband, he was like outside getting the mail or something like that. And I had just driven home from that party like the next morning. I had spent the night at her house. I had dressed up like the scary Queen of Hearts with like tons of black makeup on. And this is back when I used to drink, guys. Okay. I was like hungover. My black makeup was like everywhere. I must have literally looked like death incarnate. And like I had to like get out of my car and like slink into my apartment, like while Kanan was like, hey, getting his mail. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to be on a date later. Oh, great. I just looked horrible. Yeah. So I remember that too. That was like good. Super awkward. So yeah. I mean, do I regret dating my neighbor? Absolutely not. We're married and I love him so much, but it was definitely a weird, awkward time sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was good.
Reminiscing.
I'm glad we did it. Oops, you got deleted. Just kidding.
Yeah. I know. That's it. Actually, this is a dating podcast.
Yeah. Every podcast is new theme. So hope you guys enjoy. We don't know what we're doing.
Tell us about your worst date.
Oh yeah, we love reading that. Date. If you don't want to put it if you're watching YouTube, you don't want to put it in the comments, feel free to DM us, and if we have permission to repost it in the stories, let us know. We love to all, have to like vent to each other and just laugh about some of this stuff, Because, my gosh, man, it's a wild world out there. And we don't date anymore, so we want to hear your guys' stories. Yeah. It's funny.
Worst things guys have said on first dates.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
Tell us, please. Yeah. Okay, so we got to do it. We got to get into it. We got to get into this monster.
Let's go, guys. It's been 15 minutes, so now is your cue to exit, unfortunately, if you haven't read Throne of Glass yet or are in the midst of reading it. We might bring up spoilers. This is your warning. Please save it to your playlist so you can come back later and listen to it and see if you have the same ranking as we do.
Yeah, we're going to give stuff away.
I don't want to have to hold back, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to be able to talk about why they were our most favorite, least favorite, whatever, without being censored. So just so you know, that's what you're getting into. Okay, so we're gonna rank lowest to highest.
Yes.
Okay. So on the count of three, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so what was your lowest rated in the Throne of Glass series?
And why? Yeah.
Well, I'm asking you.
Okay. No, I'm saying, do you want me to say the lowest and why? Question mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have the right inflection there. Sorry, my apologies. We're on FaceTime, guys, okay? We're doing our best. Okay. Not videoed all the freaking times the FaceTime calls have dropped. We're losing our minds. Okay.
Yeah.
My lowest, so number 8 would be, and I'm gonna get heat for this because a lot of people really love it, and you're valid. Everybody's valid in their own feelings and opinions and ratings. These are just me.
And we didn't talk about this ahead, so it might make me mad too.
I know. We'll I don't think that I think that you're gonna be surprised by my number 1.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think I'll be surprised by yours, but you're gonna be surprised by mine. There, I said it. I am a mystery. Just kidding. Wrapped in an enigma. Okay. Number 8, my lowest is Assassin's Blade. Oh, for me, it was really hard for me to get into, probably just because the way the book is formatted. I haven't read a lot of short stories, and it was very broken up into, I think it was like 5 short stories almost, even though they were all related and in time order. It was just hard for me to get into because every time it was very much a short story of SJM. You know how lots of crazy stuff happens at the end of her books. Lots of crazy things happened at the end of each short story. So it's like a roller coaster. As soon as it like got to the crazy part, I had to start over again. So it was just like, it felt like whiplash every short story.
A little disjointed to you almost.
And I have an unpopular opinion, but I know we're going to say stuff later. I couldn't get into the Sam romance. I know. I couldn't. I have no qualms.
Sam,
I wasn't.
That, like, what I cried. I cried my little eyes
Do you want me to
out.
hurt you? You want me to hurt your feelings right now?
Yeah,
Sam is mid. There, I said it. Mid.
I don't know that it hurts my feelings so much as I know in my heart that's not true.
I just hurt some people's feelings, and I'm sorry.
So I'm just going to
I'm
ignore
protecting
it
my
and
feelings,
move on.
actually. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Yes. Yeah,
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but those words, they would have hurt me, but I have protection up. I got a crystal I'm holding.
Like, you just don't have a heart. That's okay.
I don't know. It was just, it was very first love. That's fine.
What got me was the way that he died was just so dang brutal. Well,
sure.
And like, just so sad. And I feel like I read Assassin's Blade first. I'm really glad I did. I feel like it affected her, Selena, on like such a deep level. I feel like it was like one of those character changing moments. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that's a lot of
that
first
changed
loves
the trajectory. Yeah.
And I want to say, I don't hate the book. Just out of all of them, it was my least favorite, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe I'd appreciate it more now. Like, because I read it first too. I almost wonder, would I have liked it better had I not read it first? Had I read it in the publishing order? Which would be like book 3 or 4. Or would it have been like,
next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. I'll try that. I'll try it out. Try it on for size. See, change my mind. Assassin's Blade. Yeah. All right. What's your number 8?
Throne of Glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I chose Throne of Glass as my number 8 is because I felt like it was a little slow moving. Yeah. It was a little YA for my personal taste now. Yeah. Also, I really, really dislike a love triangle. Yeah. It's not really my thing, like, in a book. Like, I typically don't like it very much. And I was like, oh, is that what's happening right now with, like, Selena and obviously Chaol and Dorian? My other issue is that at this juncture, I did not like Chaol or Dorian.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. They were not likable.
No.
And I don't think they were meant to be, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, that was like kind of my... I was just underwhelmed by it, I guess you could say. Like I was excited to see where things would go. But at this point, and I really liked her character. I thought her character was great. I thought she was really interesting. I was coming off of Assassin's Blade, so I knew some things about her history already, which I appreciated. Obviously, I'm rooting for her. But yeah, I wasn't very invested in like the love interest component. And to me, in a romantasy or a fantasy, I like that component. Yeah. So it was just a little slow moving. I think that's why I rated it an 8 mostly.
Yeah. Yeah, so my number 7 is Throne of Glass. So that's perfect because I can just piggyback off basically everything the same that you said. It was necessary in the build-up for the books, the series. Mm-hmm. But Dorian and Chaol were really hard. They're difficult. It was like literally her first book, right? She was like 16 when she wrote it. It felt very youth. Yeah. Like oh, but this boy likes me and that boy likes me, which I can never deal with. But it was still necessary. It's still not bad. All of these are still high star ratings. But yeah,
I think I rated it a 4-star, even though it was one of my lesser favorites in the series for sure.
Like I wonder if I would have struggled with picking up the next book if I read it when it came out. Like if I was that age group, I wonder if I'd be like, am I gonna read the next one? I wonder. But I have that information that it's like this big, epic, high fantasy read. So I'm like, let's do it. Let's go. It's all good. Mm-hmm. It's necessary for the build-up. Oh, and it's such an amazing story, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's we needed to start there so that we could get to where we got, I will appreciate, I think, both of these books more when I reread them. I definitely think so. Because you already know that information, and you can find the clues, too. It'll be totally, that's so exciting. I miss them already, guys. We just finished Kingdom of Ash, like in January, and we miss them already. Mm-hmm. That tells you something. Okay, you're number 7. Crown of Midnight was my number 7. And honestly, I feel like a lot of my ratings kind of go in like the order that they came out because I feel like the action just picks up so much more as it moves along. Yeah. And I was looking at like the different, obviously like plot points that happened in each book because they tend to meld all into like one big book for me. So it's hard for me to decipher between them. So this is the one where we kind of start like getting a little bit of the taste for like what's going on with like the rebels and like the whole Archer Finn situation. And then something I did like about this book that I thought was really interesting now that we finished the whole series and we can go back to look on it was that this was when Selena kills the Yellow Legs witch who she goes to ask about the word keys and like the trailer at like the festival. And to me, I was like, ooh, that's cool because that's like kind of our introduction to like this whole world of the witches that ends up being so interesting.
Yeah, and it's also, the rest of it. Isn't it the one where she fights that one guy at the end? Like all the people are dying in the castle, or was that still in Throne of Glass? I thought Crown of Midnight is when she takes him down. Because the crown appears on her brow while she's fighting him with all the demons around.
Yes. And this is the one where Nehemia dies, and then I know, that was...
brutal.
See, this is what's interesting. I was more affected by Sam dying than Nehemia dying. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Not me.
Yeah.
I disagree.
So something must have just spoken to me about it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But this is the one where she thinks Chaol could have prevented it, and so that's when she like attacks him and she's gonna kill him.
Yeah.
And gives him the scar on his face, but it's also when we find out that Dorian has powers because he protects Chaol from her.
Yeah.
So I feel like we find a lot out in this book, which was cool, but it was still a little bit like of a slow... Yeah. It wasn't slow, but it was slower. I mean, compared to the second half of the series, it's like slow,
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I chose number 7. I felt like a lot of really interesting things happened. We're introduced to kind of the rebel force. We're introduced to the witches. But we still have a little ways to go before it starts getting into kind of like a little bit more of the nitty gritty where we're introduced to a lot of the characters that I really ended up liking.
Yeah.
So that's why I gave it number 7.
Okay.
So what's number 6 for you?
Mine is also Crown of Midnight. It's number 6. So I'm just right behind you. So yeah, again, super good. Stuff is happening. That's when I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. This is going to be really cool. Things are going to all piece together. This is the Sarah J. Maas that I found out that I loved through ACOTAR and Crescent City. So good. Good. It's not as young adult as people like to make it seem. The first 2 books,
yeah, and
sure,
it gets less and less as it goes along.
Yeah, it grows with her. Kind of like people say, we haven't read Harry Potter. We weren't allowed to. But it's said that Harry Potter kind of grows with the reader. So I think these books probably really grow with the author as she aged. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and that's cool because I feel like it's the same thing with, you know, Selena and then Aelin. It's like we're watching her grow up into this person, you know, like throughout this like very long series. Yeah. So it's really cool.
And not only her, everybody. We gotta watch. Everybody. We gotta watch so many characters grow, and that's so hard to do. I think as an author, is realize that people are multifaceted and not just one dimensional. So she's very well done.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that SJM is like expert at is character development. I mean, I think we can all agree that like one of the reasons why it's like the joke, right? As soon as you finish reading Throne of Glass, you want to start it over to reread it, is because it's like you miss those characters so much. They're so developed. They're so good. They become like a little part of your life because you've been reading it forever. Because you just spent, I mean, in our case, we took almost a year to finish that whole series because we were reading it at the same time as a lot of other. Well, no, because I think we started it in March. I think, didn't we?
No,
so it would have been. Yeah,
because I was still reading Crescent City and stuff in like July, June, I think. Because I started.
Oh, really?
I started ACOTAR last March. So we started Throne of Glass because I was like going to Vegas when we.
Weird. I thought I started it sooner for some reason.
I think July, summer. You might have started it ahead of me.
Well, whatever. We were reading it for, I'd say, 6-7 months. So it's like you're spending, like, let's say 6 or 7 months, like, with these characters, like, probably every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just feel like you know them. That's what I love about it.
For sure. So that's my 6 in ranking. What is yours?
So, Heir of Fire is my number 6.
Such a good one.
It's really good. I know. It feels almost
so good.
Like not right rating it a number 6. Do you know what I mean? But like something's got to.
I know what you mean.
But you got to do it, you know. So I would say that at this point things really start to pick up, like really start to amp up. So I just made a little note to myself here that this is when we're introduced to Rowan and Maeve and Aedion, Sorsha. You get, you know, Manon's point of view. It's just, I right off the bat was like 100% like here for Manon's point of view. Like, I know a lot of people are like, Manon's point of view in the beginning kind of bored me and I wasn't really into it. And I'm like, I just wanted Manon's books. Like, I was like, screw everyone else. I just want to read about Manon right now.
Totally. Wholeheartedly.
Yes.
For sure.
So, let's see. So, Aelin's in Wendelin because Chaol sent her there as, like, part of that deal or whatever, like, sent her away. So then this is when you have Rowan come in and he basically takes her to Maeve and then starts training her to use her magic. To me, that was, like, the turning point where I'm like, things are starting to get really good. Chaol and Dorian, who I had been struggling with this whole time to like really care about, I'm like, oh, this is why, because we thought we were choosing between Chaol and Dorian.
Yeah.
No.
No. Rowan, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's entered the chat. He's made this interesting. And obviously it gets more interesting too, because then Aelin is more, you know, she's figuring out her powers. So that makes it like super interesting. And then we have that whole piece with like Aedion coming in. We find out that he's like essentially, you know, quote unquote loyal to Terrasen, which means that he kind of starts working with the rebels too on some level to like free, you know, I guess you could say like free magic and then also like, you know, restore Terrasen to its former glory because he believes that, you know, in his queen or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you've kind of got this side story with Dorian falling in love with Sorsha, and then obviously all the craziness that finds out or that ends up happening at the end of that book, which was just wild. Like with Dorian getting enslaved with the collar, and Sorsha getting beheaded in front of him, and Chaol basically flees. Aedion is thrown into the dungeon. Like, Aelin's off to find the third word key that she thinks that Arobynn has. It's like chaos. It's like the perfect amount of crazy chaos to lead us into the future of the series that's even more crazy.
Yeah.
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 It's like the insane gateway. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. It's so hard because I feel like the remainder of these books, they all have their own amazingness.
Yeah.
So it's hard. This is the part that's hard to rank. The rest of this.
See, that's funny because to me, it was easy for me to rank everything from here on out.
Ah, that's funny.
Because I feel very strongly about those ones. And so it's really easy for me to put them in certain places. But like, up until now, like the lower rated ones, I was like, I don't know, it could kind of go either way. Like this one could be here, this one could be here, because I kind of feel more neutral about them. Whereas like, from now until, you know, my number one ranking, it was like pretty solid. I was pretty sure about what to do.
Nice.
So, okay, so what's your number 5?
Okay, so with that said, everything else from here on out, like, I loved. Okay. And people crap on this book a lot, but I actually really, 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 really liked it. So don't, you know, I'm not ranking it number 5 because it's mid, you know, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I really liked it, but it's going to have to go to Tower of Dawn just because I love Chaol's plight. I love the character development, but overall, if I was reading it on its own, I know I would have had a hard time just like reading that much about him. And even Nezrin. You know, I like all the stuff we found out. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy with doing the tandem read between Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms because, I mean, honestly, they're both like the same ranking almost. Because I like each of them for different things. Because Empire of Storms almost, I feel like, wasn't as profound because Tower of Dawn, maybe I should switch the rankings. That was hard. I kept going back and forth on this because I also loved Empire of Storms. It was more chaotic, but it's also because I'm tandem reading it. Or like Tower of Dawn, like you have all the plights of the people, but I also am like, I know if I read that one alone, I would have been okay. Like let's move along. You know, does that make sense? Yeah. I'm kind of all over the place. So I'm gonna go with Tower of Dawn for number 5.
Okay.
Final answer.
I disagree, but I'll respect your answer.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You know,
respectfully disagree. So my number 5 is the Assassin's Blade.
That makes sense. I think a lot of people would probably feel the same.
Yeah. So, you know, I really enjoyed the Assassin's Blade. I rated it a 5-star. I'm typically not a big short story person. However, I really enjoyed it. Like, it's just...
That's good.
I really enjoyed it. The notes that I made here, I thought was kind of funny. I was like, we meet Wyrene. And then I'm like, we meet Lysandra. Like, basically, like, I just...
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just...
Like, that's why I think if I reread it, I'm gonna like Assassin's Blade a lot more.
Because there's, like, little nuggets in there.
Like, I knew Wyrene was gonna come back into play. It just took a really long time, obviously, for her to come back into play.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think I would change my mind and have it higher.
Oh, and then we meet Ansel when Selena goes to train with the Silent Assassins, which obviously comes into play later. That was pretty cool.
I
thought that it was a really kind of cool... I think the reason why I liked it, let's say that it was just like a collection of short stories that didn't have to do with anything else. I don't know that I would have cared about it that much. I think what I liked about it was knowing that it was going to be tied in some really cool, profound ways later on down the line. It like almost gave my brain like it's like a Where's Waldo kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, where are we going to find out about these people? Like it gave it a little bit of that intrigue. And I think that's why I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, that was my number 5.
You're convincing me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was clever.
I might need to give more respect to that. That might have just went up to 7 to me instead of 8. I might switch that with Throne of Glass now. We're changing minds over here.
So, okay, so what's your number 4? We're getting into the top 50 percentile now.
All right, so Empire of Storms will be my number 4. So, like I said, kind of Tower of Dawn, Empire of Storms, about the same. I liked reading more about Lorcan and Elide running around, gallivanting, and the ending of that book was so brutal. That's why I can't imagine, because in publishing order, isn't it Empire of Storms and then Tower of Dawn?
I honestly don't remember.
Because I can't imagine reading the ending of Empire of Storms and then having to go into the Chaol story.
And read, yeah.
So I think that's why everybody, goes with the tandem read, because everybody has their thoughts. Obviously, Tower of Dawn has its place and it's good. So I would give Empire of Storms number 5. No, number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was a good one.
So number 4 for me was Queen of Shadows. So you've got... I really liked this book because it's basically 2 points of view, right? You've got Aylin's point of view and then you have Manon's point of view. Those are like the 2 mains. So we have these 2 parallel stories going on. It's kind of setting us up, I think, for how many points of view are going to be happening moving forward, which I love that. I know some people aren't into it, but like, I'm like, the more point of views, the better. Like, I love that. The different stories come, and especially when they come together. It's like so gratifying,
Yeah.
We're introduced to Lorcan and Elide in this book.
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved the crazy freaking ending with Caltaine blowing herself up and basically like taking down a big chunk of Morath with her.
Everything was so good.
Everything was so good. Her giving the word stone, to Manon, and then Manon giving it to Elide, and then obviously there's all the other crazy stuff going on with everyone else, where they basically, that's the one where they, escape Aedion, right? And then, Lorcan comes in, helps them, battle all the, Valg demons underneath the clock tower so that they could explode it. It was, totally crazy.
Yeah, it was so good.
But I thought it was amazing. Chaol gets paralyzed from the king. There's just so much that happens. We find out that Aedion's father is Gavriel in that book. Dorian and Aylin get into that, crazy fight, and then Dorian ends up killing his dad, the king.
Yeah.
It was just one thing after another. I thought it was it was right up there with, in my opinion, this is where the books start getting to the level of SJM that we're used to. With, ACOTAR Crescent City. I feel like...
For sure.
It's at that same kind of standard. I feel like once you get to Queen of Shadows, it's it's rocking and rolling big time.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what about you for number 3?
So that's your number 4.
Yes.
My number 3 is Queen of Shadows.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I put AKA the blowing shit up book.
Yeah, 100%.
It was so fun. Blowing up things that need to be blown up, man. Oh, it was so satisfying. So many things got, put in their place, man. And moving parts started going and everything was happening and everybody's starting to group together. And all of the pieces that Aelin has been putting into play are starting to come out to fruition. Yeah. And having Lysandra be, a shifter.
Oh, yeah. So
and
cool.
She was her arch nemesis, in their youths. So, that was so cool to see her moment and really come into her power.
That's her, snow leopard moment, right?
Yeah, it's her snow leopard moment. And then, I don't remember what book she takes down. It's the same book, right? Yeah, that she takes down the assassin's keeper of the assassins, the Adelin's what's his name?
I don't remember.
What's his name?
I'm really bad with names, especially when
Sandra. It's on the tip of my tongue too. I hate that. But yeah, so that all around was such a good book. Loved Queen of Shadows. Number 3 for me. What's your number 3?
Number 3 is Empire of Storms. Yeah, I mean, this book was just excellent. I don't know that anyone really dislikes this book who is into this series. Yeah. I liked it because we learn a lot about the history. We got a lot of the missing pieces that we needed to be able to understand really what happened with Elena and Gavin and like that whole situation.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really interesting. I liked how, like, when she has the vision that basically gives her all that history, I felt like it was almost like an information dump because it was like very quickly in like just a few pages that we find out all of this information. So I had to reread it, and I had to like, I remember asking in our buddy read a whole bunch of questions because it was confusing. But it's like once I finally kind of reread it a few times, had it solidified in my mind, I was like, that was so important. I feel like for the whole series to like have that background. So I really liked this. I also made a note that this is the book where a lot of the relationships progressed. So, you know, you kind of have this like thing going on with Lorcan in the lead. I love Lorcan. Like, he's my second to, you know, Rowan for sure.
Agreed. Yeah.
Aedion and Lysandra kind of have their like push and pull, like slow burn kind of thing going on. And you've got Dorian and Manon, Rowan and Aelin. Obviously, they finally have some spicy scenes in this book, you know, because it was Empire of Storms, right, where like Rowan says that classic line, like, I will love you until the earth is a forgotten whisper of dust or whatever. Like,
I don't remember which one.
I remember reading that and being like, geez, like, what a line.
I loved like the freaking Rolf, the pirate lord, coming back into play in that one. Yeah. So good. And she just freaking he begrudgingly helps her and everything. I love that.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a good book.
So we've got a little spice.
You're reminding me of all the extra good stuff in it.
Yeah. Like Manon rebels against her grandmother and finds out that she's the Crocian heir. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah. So I didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't see that coming either.
I did not.
We knew
that was crazy.
We knew there was going to be more with Manon, but I figured she'd just take over.
You know what I mean? Against the like way she was raised. Yeah, not that
she would bring them all together.
Actually a bloodline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, and that her mom killed her mom.
I know. I know.
That book. Yeah, I'm forgetting how much I cried in that book too.
So much. It was like all the time.
Yeah, both between those two, the tandems, Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms, were tear jerkers in so many ways.
So much. Yeah, because what else do I have here? Lysandra turns into the sea dragon in this book.
Yes, that was so cool.
That was so cool.
And that was like the premonition, essentially.
Yeah, like Aelin and Manon go into the mirror and discover the Eye of Elena is a lock. Like, so they have that going on. We find out that it has to be either Aelin or Dorian that has to die. So there's that we find out. Yeah. They have that huge battle against Maeve where Rowan and Aelin are separated. And then, of course, Aelin gets taken at the end. Like, what an end. Like,
that's brutal.
What a brutal end. It's like
such a brutal ending.
I can't remember if it's the end of Empire of Storms or the beginning of Kingdom of Ash where it's like the frickin' where's my wife? You know what I mean? From like it's like the most.
It was the end of Empire of Storms, yeah. Because he's still on the ship when he realizes that she or something like, or he got to the beach or something like that. Got to the beach. It was for sure the end, because the beginning of Kingdom of Ash is them already looking for her after like a couple weeks.
Jeez, though, it was like the "Where's my wife?" heard round the world. You know what I mean? That was brutal. Oh, I felt so bad for Rowan in that moment. Like, obviously,
because that was like the same moment we found out that they secretly got married too.
Oh, yeah. It was so good. It was like
gonna all sit here and cry.
I know. Like every chapter in this book was just good.
It was so good.
It was so emotional. Yeah, I cried so many times. It was so high stakes the whole time.
Yeah.
And then, and the one thing I will say that I didn't quite, there was this, my one tiny critique, okay, of Empire of Storms, is how mad Elide was at Lorcan. That just made me crazy. I was like, get over it. He had a blood oath to Maeve. He did the best he could with what he had. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like he deserved
that. Almost comes into more to play, I would say, as a critique of Kingdom of Ash, because that's when she's really like
super mean,
brutal to him. Because it's just the beginning at Empire of Storms. I think it's the beginning of her being mad.
But it's why we know why she got mad at him, because it happens at the end, obviously.
True. So
that's my only one little critique of that book. The whole book was just, I mean, a 5-star read if you ever found one. You know what I mean? So good.
Yeah. So good.
So that was my number 3. Okay, so what's your number 2?
think you're going to be shocked by this one.
Well, there's only so many left, so, you know.
Yeah. My number 2 is actually Kingdom of Ash. It is not my number 1.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously so much happens. It's really good. But there's no like major reason. They're just the number 1. I just had a lot more like vibes with.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's not, doesn't mean it's bad that it's number 2. Because all of these are like number 1s.
Yeah.
It's just 1.1, 1.2, really. Because, like, dude, talking about Empire of the Storms again, it's just like, it's crazy. So Kingdom of Ash is great. I think it was, and it ended really good. I think it's just, I don't want to say it drags because that has a negative connotation, but because we're getting multiple point of views, it's taken a little while to get to going. It was the longest book, but it also took me the longest to read. So that's like hard too, because I was having to like try to fit it into my crazy schedule and not like having to jump back in every time. Yeah. You know, it never like, a lot of these books I was able to like binge read for like 3 hours. I never was able to get like a big chunk.
That would be
where
so
you like
hard
feel
with
pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a big thing of it. Why it didn't give me my number 1, but it didn't make me. I don't know. I guess I was just hyped. I guess I was really hyped for it, so I didn't cry as much as I thought I was going to. Like there was definitely like the witches 13. I'm wearing my 13 shirt right now because that was brutal. I didn't think she was gonna make him go like that. And it was beautifully wrapped up. I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with the way Maeve was taken down and the Val King, whatever his name is.
Erewhon.
I think that it was done really well. Except, I'm remembering. My biggest critique of it really bothered me. So I think this is on a subconscious level right now why I'm not giving it number 1. I really, 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 really hate when characters like change their idea at the last second of like a very pivotal thing.
Okay.
So when she is at the word gate being bled out and all of her magic being sucked out of her, and she tries to make a deal with the gods that if she can keep whatever, what's her name? Elena? Don't take Elena, but don't worry about the Val King. I'll take care of them.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So
that was
let me
terrible.
leave. Like she tried to trade the Val. It's gonna bug me. What's the Val King's name?
Erewhon.
Yeah. So I'll take care of Erewhon if you leave Elena, please.
Yeah.
And they're like, haha, no. And then Elena's dead and you get the Val King. Deal with him.
Yeah.
So it's fine because like she needed to take down Erewhon. I just wish it could have been, I wish she just didn't. I wish they just went back on their word. I don't know. Instead of her making that deal and screwing them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just felt like that was out of character. I didn't like that. I think there could have been another way to try to save Elena, who drove me crazy the whole time. Yeah. I didn't like her. At the end of the day, I thought that it was a crap move. And Aelin basically pulled the same move that Elena did, where she just saved her people instead of taking down all of them. Mm-hmm. So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
It's okay.
But I think subconsciously, that's where maybe that's like a pretty big critique that I have why it didn't get me 1 star. I don't want to say that though, because like, not 1 star, but first place, because that's one thing out of the huge giant 1,000-page book. But maybe it's playing with my mind, playing head games a little bit, you know?
I get it.
So
I do.
What's your number 2?
Tower of Dawn.
Yeah.
So I loved Tower of Dawn. To me, Tower of Dawn had one of the most emotional impacts on me.
For sure.
I just sobbed through so much of that book because I feel like Chaol's journey was just so real and relatable.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff, we love reading about it, and obviously the themes are universal, but I don't know that a lot of it we could really relate to, right? Most of us aren't trying to travel to different realms to fight demon princes or demon kings or whatever. You know what I mean? That's not a thing we're doing. But I feel like being able to overcome your deep-seated trauma and self-hatred, those are things that people can really relate to. And obviously his was amplified and really personified in the actual physical decay of whatever was going on inside of him. But it was really symbolic too. And I think that, you know, him finding Irene, who is able to not just physically heal him, but like spiritually, you know, mentally help heal him. I think was like a really profound like symbolism.
It was beautiful.
And yeah, it was beautiful. And yeah, that book really, really impacted me for sure. Like I loved it on like every level. I will say that, Nesrin and Sartak, while I did like their story and thought that it was really important overall, especially with everyone coming together in KOA, it didn't really interest me very much in comparison to Chaol and Irene's story because I was so invested in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's like, you know, talking to Racinda, someone who, you know, we're really good friends with, but who is also in book club, she loved that storyline. Nesrin and Sartak are like her people. And I'm like, cool, that's awesome. So, you know, there's someone for
I felt
everyone.
like it was too surface level, you know?
Yeah, it was a little bit like...
I didn't feel like I really got emotionally invested in them for some reason. Something didn't click for me.
I mean, I feel like a big part of that may have been like we couldn't have had two couples functioning at the same level of intensity that Chaol and Irene were, because that would have just been like insane. So I feel like in order to balance it out, like we had to have one a little bit less intense to like go back and forth with, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like my one critique of the book was I wasn't really super into them. But to me, out of all of the books, even though it's not my number one, it was the number one that affected me like on an emotional level the most, I think.
Yeah.
Like it definitely will stick with me forever, for sure. So that leaves just your number one. So do explain.
Which is, as you can tally, Heir of Fire.
Crazy.
Because everything, like, she just starts coming into her own. That's when Selena becomes Aelin. That's when we get all the reasons you said earlier why you love Heir of Fire is why I love it so much. You know, she meets Rowan, their story, like their beginnings I find hilarious. I got everything I wanted. I laughed, I cried, I was figuring out clues in a puzzle, like there was crazy new creatures in the forest that they had to battle.
Oh, right.
She got to really come into her power, and we really got to understand the magic system for the first time since magic was, you know, gone for 10 years, we really got to understand it a lot more. And that's the book that made me so excited for all the books. That was the book that did it for me. That is the book that out of everything, I would go and pick up and reread just that one again.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just a good time.
Interesting.
You know, it was just a fun time. It was my most likely to reread book out of all of them.
Interesting.
So I loved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. So obviously number one for me is KOA,
First place.
Kingdom of Ash. The reason why I chose this one over Tower of Dawn was because I felt like it was a really good balance of like emotional like turmoil and action. Yeah. Whereas like I feel like Tower of Dawn for me was like all emotional turmoil. So KOA, we had so much going on. It was the culmination of all these years of work that Aelin has been putting into forging all of these alliances, you know, culminating in this insane battle. Where you have all these moving parts, you know, it was very like Game of Thrones reminiscent in my opinion. So, you know, these are the notes I took. I put the "where's my wife" moment, right? Like he's basically searching for her, trying to communicate with her through the bond. You know, Fenris and the blinking, like that will never leave my mind.
I get chills. Oh,
yeah. Like what a way to write a minor character in such an impactful way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Rowan, when he finds her and then goes and tortures the bad guy who was torturing Aelin. What's his name? I can't remember.
Golly.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I don't remember anything. The
moment
that
with
was crazy.
Aelin trying to rip her mask off.
Oh, that was so sad. Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah, it's just so all, you know, it's like, I don't even think all that happens before like 25%. I'm already sobbing when Aelin's trying to rip her mask off and Rowan's trying to help her. I'm like, what? How is there 75% left of this book? Like, I don't know how we're going to make it through that. That's crazy. So, there's all that. There's obviously, you already talked about Manon in the 13. That was brutal. Oh. Adion and his freaking dad with the close the gate.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing.
You didn't have to go like that.
I know. Okay, we'll get into that in a second. Okay, we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, so we have, like, Adion and his dad at the gate, and then we have, like, okay, the part that got me the most out of this whole entire book, and I know that, like, I don't know, people think that, obviously everything that happens with Manon in the 13 is the most sad moment. For me, the most sad moment was literally, like, Lorcan almost throwing himself off the back of that horse.
I know, that was crazy, man.
I was, like, uncontrollably sobbing at that part.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, that was brutal to me. But that's the thing, is, like, a book that makes you feel that many things.
Yeah.
Is so profound, in my opinion. So, yeah. So, for all of those reasons, and then obviously Irene ending up being such a badass, like, what an ending. It's just everything tied together, and it had a really, really, like, a perfect ending.
Yeah, it was.
A way for us to hope that we might get, some crossover in the future, or, like, we might go back to Terracin someday, but also a very satisfying ending where, if that doesn't happen, I'd be okay with how it ended, too.
We'll just keep rereading it.
We'll just keep rereading it till the end of time.
It was so
good. Exactly.
Everything was so good. It was hard. It was hard to rank these overall because they all deserve their place. Not one book I would say, get rid of it. No. Everything deserves its time and place. It's all necessary, and I can't wait to reread it again.
Yeah. Yeah, same. That's going to be a thing we'll have to do maybe in a couple years. I want to give it like a couple years, and then we can reread it, and that'll be really fun.
Oh, so exciting.
So, okay. So, want to wrap this up with a quick smash or pass?
Okay. All right. You start first this time.
Okay, so mine is Throne of Glass related.
Nice.
Because I thought I would just tie it into the theme. Okay, so smash or pass, Dorian, but he can only touch you with his shadow daddy hands.
Oh, gosh. Weird. Such a weird podcast we have. No, pass.
Pass. See, because this is the thing. I was never into Dorian. He always kind of annoyed me a little bit. Even when we find out he's, like, super powerful and interesting. Yeah. Like, then I'm like, oh, I liked him as a character, but he was never really a book boyfriend for me. I was just not into him. But then when the Shadow Daddy hands came out, I was like, yeah. Maybe.
I am in the camp. I like physical touch, so it would piss me off. So, no, it's all or nothing for me. So, like, because smash regular Dorian, pass shadow hands only.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, mine is the opposite. Mine would be pass Dorian.
Like, okay, fine. I'll deal with you then.
Yeah, smash shadow daddy hands only. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, crap. I didn't think of one. Okay, I got one.
What?
Let's do it. Okay, on the spot, on the fly. Let's go. I have a list, but I didn't pull it up. Okay. This is another childhood villain. Scar.
Oh, that's a pass for me. And you want to know why? I know it's a smash for you because we talked about it before. Okay.
You talk about it all the time.
All the time.
Weirdo.
No, so here's the deal with Scar. So I would say, because he fits the bill.
He does.
Right? He checks all the boxes. The reason why is because I read Scarred.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which was part of the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. And I love that series. It's a great series. However, I listened to it, which I also listened to the rest of them. They were all really good. But this guy's voice, it was like he sounded...
It wasn't like Scar.
No,
Scar's voice is good.
No, it was like too much like Scar. So then the whole time I'm reading this book,
it was creepy?
I'm picturing a lion. True. An animated lion.
Because Scar's voice is that one guy, isn't it? Rocky Horror Picture Show. He has a great voice. Doesn't
What?
it?
Is it really?
No, I don't know.
I'm like, are you talking about Tim Curry?
Is it? Maybe it's not. It's somebody really good, though. Somebody that has a really good voice, but maybe not a good face, but a good voice. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Tarzan's still on my screen.
But here, this is the thing. Like, I just had a really hard time because this character we're supposed to like in this dark romance book or whatever. I literally am trying to read about him and I'm just picturing the animated Scar cartoon Lion, and I'm like, this is weird. And so it kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah.
And it was no one's fault. Like, I feel like the guy's voice in another context would have been fine.
His fault. It's kind of his fault. He ruined it for you.
No, because I feel like it would have been okay. Like, nothing was wrong with his voice. Like, if he did another book, it would have been okay. The book was good. Like, I don't have any issues with the book. It was just kind of like a mixture of all the things together. Yeah. And for that reason, I'm out. Yeah. For sure. Who does his voice? Did you look it up?
I have no idea who this person is, but it's a good voice. Jeremy Irons. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
He's in some things and some stuff, but I don't recognize his face, so forget it. I know, and now that I think about Tim Curry's voice, it's definitely
I was like, that's surprising to me, but okay.
Don't quiz me on anything. I know nothing, all right? Especially when it comes to like pop culture trivia. Unless it's like a comedy movie, I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And like not a current comedy movie, like a comedy movie of the 2000s, early 2000s. Exactly. Will Ferrell, Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey movies, all those. I got that on lock. Anything else? Meh. It's a toss-up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like that was a doozy, but we got it done. Now I know that Air of Fire is your number one. I love that.
Yeah, it's such a good time. But, you know, Kingdom of Ash is really like, all of these are like really neck and neck here. So it's very, like I said, 0.1 difference. Yeah. So... yeah, and you guys, we don't have time today for unpopular Throne of Glass opinions. We really wanted to, but that just means we'll do another episode of that. So definitely send us your Throne of Glass unpopular opinions, and maybe we'll do like a Sarah J. Maas unpopular opinions or something to like encompass everything. It'll be fun. Yeah. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that when we get around to it. You know, follow us anywhere you get your podcast. Come check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Bessie's in the Books Podcast. Thank you for being listening.
Here. And we'll catch you next time. Or see you next Tuesday.
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh.
As we said. See you next Tuesday.
When we do the next pod.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.